Cost of living in Belleville, Ontario. Is this an affordable city? Hopefully today I'll be able to provide some insights into this town, this city, the surrounding areas, and that will help answer that question for you so that if you have been searching for a place to move to, whether it be from within Ontario, other parts of Canada, you'll be able to get some more answers that will help you along that journey. Hi, my name is Jeremy Tremblay. I'm a realtor that services the Belleville and surrounding areas. I'm glad that you're here to watch this video, and if you get any value out of this video, I'd really appreciate if you can hit that like button, hit the subscribe button and the bell so you can get notified of all future videos, and hopefully I can help you on your journey to home ownership. So the first thing we're going to look at, rental prices. So if you're not in the market yet to purchase, one of the first things people ask me is about the rentals in this area. And while I don't help anyone directly with getting rentals, in this area, the best place to look, honestly, is on places like Kijiji or Facebook Marketplace. That's where the majority of the listings are. I can give you a good idea as to what the rental market is like. First off, very low vacancy. There are not many places that come up that stay available for very long. From my own experience, when an apartment is put up that is a nice looking apartment, it's not uncommon to get 50, 60, upwards of like 80 applications for that one apartment. So of course it does rent fairly quickly. But in terms of numbers, if looking in Belleville directly, it's a little bit more expensive than if you were going to rent somewhere like Trenton, which is just 10, 15 minutes down the road. But for a basement apartment, of course, all these numbers are very general because it varies by the square footage and the level of finish of the apartment. But a 1 or 2 bedroom basement apartment, you might be able to find in the $1,400, $1,500 range. They can get more expensive. So the very nice newer home basement apartments can reach upwards of $1,900, even $2,000. And then for an upstairs apartment, you're going to be looking generally starting in that $1,700 range, and they can go upwards of around $2,100. That's usually around the limit for an upstairs apartment, because from there, you're going to be looking into renting a single family home. And so if you're going to be looking at an older single family home, maybe a little bit smaller, you can get that in the lower 2,000 range. Mid 2000s, $2,500. You've got some good options for some newer homes with more square footage. 3,000, that's kind of the limit in this area. You're going to be able to get a full house, a nice house for that range. And so that's where rentals are right now in this area. Like I said, I can't emphasize enough, very low vacancy. Just because of where we are in the 401, people able to commute, there's quite a need for rentals. So we're going to look a little deeper into what options are available in Belleville direct. We're going to look at just homes, single family homes that are available in Belleville, from price ranges from the low end to the high end. And so the first one I found here that's available, this is early November of 2023, is this property on Foster Avenue. As to where that is in Belleville, I'll show you here. You've got the entire city divided by the river, and then on the east side, actually right down by the water here, there are different pockets along the water, some older homes, and that's what this one here is, kind of a little bit of an older home, but there are homes that are being built up along this waterfront that are quite expensive, and so you're going to see a lot of newer construction happening there. But this is one of the older ones that's actually been fixed up quite nicely, priced at $375. I know it was at $400, it had a price reduction, so it'll likely sell between $375 and $400. But if we take a closer look here, it's quite a nice house. Honestly, it's been looked after. It's on a nice lot. It's basic, but as we go inside, it's very clean. Just kind of run through some photos here. It's got, it's not a huge footprint in terms of square footage, but the kitchen, as you can see, it's got solid countertops. It's got nice lighting, nicely updated in many respects. And so that's a home that if you were to go in many other cities along the 401, you're not going to be able to find something like this, especially this close to Toronto. And this price range for a house like this, you couldn't do this. Looking over the past year or couple of years, this home, you couldn't attain this for under $400,000. And so that's what we're seeing today. There's some great options. And then moving along, this other one here is also on the east side of Belleville, kind of the old East Hill portion of the city on William Street. And it's a very quaint home. At $450,000, you can see it's got great curb appeal to it with the red brick. And generally that area, a lot of homes are being revitalized, which is very nice. Very mature neighborhoods with a lot of trees, as you can see. Good sized lot in terms of depth, which is fantastic. They do not make lots like that anymore. And looking inside, it's going to be an older home, so it's going to have the character, the trim, the baseboard, the casings, all very nice. They've staged this digitally, as you can see, but a lot of character. So looking for a home like this in the city, walking distance to downtown, you can easily get to the water. This kind of checks all those boxes, and it's in that mid 400s range. So just kind of let you take a look through that one. So some great options. And of course, with an older home like this, there are going to be some areas that are going to require some work. The floors are going to show more wear, the walls and the trim and such, due to its age, are going to show more wear, and it may need some work. But the potential is there to make a house that is quite nice in a very nice neighborhood. And then from there, moving up in price, we have something here at $550,000 list. And for any of these, I will let you know my thoughts as to where they're at. So right here, this is 8 days on market. One thing I'll note with all of these, property taxes so far have been fairly low. This one here, for a house that's $550,000 in Belleville, that's actually pretty good for property taxes at $3,400 a year. It's got nice curb appeal, paved driveway, very clean, nice railings out front. And then inside, it could use some paint if you wanted to freshen it up. But overall, it looks like a very well-maintained home, very clean. Kitchen has been updated. Nice stainless steel appliances. It's got a fairly open feel. It's got nice hardwood floors as well. Clean. It's got carpet in the basement, which some people like, some people don't, but it's always a telling sign as to whether the carpet is clean or not. It's hard to hide that. A dirty carpet means it's a sign of how the house has been treated, whereas if it's a clean carpet, it's generally also a good sign. And so that's a home that you can get with a little bit more square footage, a nice 3-season sunroom in the back there. More square footage at $550,000. And then if we want to keep moving along, this here is on the north side of the 401, which is currently the more desirable neighborhoods. And this property specifically on Redwood Drive is listed at $630,000. I know this has been on the market for a little bit now. 32 days on the market. Property tax is a little higher at $4,600, which is reflective of generally the price in that neighborhood. It is a newer build home, but it does have some nice advantages to it. It's got a paved driveway. It's a kind of not custom should I say, but builder basic in terms of finishing. But overall, they've done a good job. I've walked through this house and it's very clean, very spacious, and nice and bright, as you can see with the windows. Got a walk-through kitchen out onto the deck. One thing about this house here is that it has an unfinished basement. It's got the Roxel safe and sound insulation down there, which is nice. You can do whatever you want. Finish that out, leave it unfinished. More than enough storage. And then one nice part about this house here is that it actually backs onto bush area. And so it's got some privacy built into it as well, which is pretty hard to find in a newer subdivision. And then one last option that I'll put out here is another home. These are new build, so pre-construction. You're looking at able to find a single family home. This one here is just under 1,500 square feet, and it is listed under 700,000. And these are fantastic homes, very well built, very good finishes. In this one specifically on Raycroft Drive is probably the most desirable area right now in Belleville. And so that's the range. That's the range of homes that you can get, starting from that 375,000 all the way up to that 700,000. We've got options in Belleville. So in terms of affordability, it's actually gotten more affordable as of late because things have been dropping down a little bit. That being said, once we see houses dropping, then we're seeing those buyers that have been sitting on the sidelines start to come out a little bit. So it's not like they're just dropping indefinitely. Once they get to a certain price, people are jumping on them. Or if a house is being listed really low, we are still seeing them go over asking if they've been underpriced. But if something's priced well, you have some time to think about it. And so definitely some good options. So having looked at that, and we have a good understanding of what the prices are and the availability of homes within the Belleville area, the next thing to consider when looking at the affordability are all the other costs associated with buying. Right away, first thing I tell people when you're looking to purchase is talk to a lender. Talk to a mortgage specialist. You need to get pre-qualified so you can have a good understanding of what it is that you can afford based on your current income and what price of home that you should be looking at. And that's a key detail. So once you know that, you've talked to a lender, the next thing is to understand what other costs are going to come along with purchasing a home. There are definitely more than just the overall purchase price. One place that I like to use is ratehub.ca. That's a website that you can go on, type in the price of a home, and it will show you the different down payments. If you're a first-time home buyer, then you can just do 5%. But if you're wanting to put more down, it'll show you the difference in the monthly payment. And the other thing that it can show you is the land transfer tax. That's something that you have to pay on every purchase. If you're a first-time home buyer, you do get a credit there, and it is cheaper, but it's all dependent on the price of the home. And the next thing I'd say to consider when looking at a house is the actual taxes, the annual taxes on a home. And these vary quite a bit. If you're buying over in Trenton, they tend to be cheaper than in Belleville area. Or if you're, say, 20 minutes north of the 401, they're a little cheaper as well. And one thing to keep in mind with the property taxes is that's one of the portions that are calculated when getting qualified for a mortgage. So if you can actually find a place that has cheaper property taxes, that will potentially allow you to qualify for a higher mortgage. And I always remind people, property taxes, they're always there and they rarely go down. They generally only go up annually throughout the life of owning that home. So something to definitely keep in mind. Another cost to consider is you have to use a lawyer when you are closing. So there are lawyer fees, which vary, once again, depending on the price of the home. You'll notice that the more expensive a home is, the more these fees tend to be because they're based on that price. Statement of adjustments. Something when you are closing, you have to be ready for is if you buy a home, for instance, one example would be property taxes. The previous owner paid the entire year in advance. And then you purchase the home, say today or early November. Well, that means there's 2 months that have already been paid for by the previous owner. So that will be adjusted. And then when it closes, you will have to pay for those 2 months of taxes, pay them back. And then other things to consider, home insurance. Around here in Belleville, there are different areas you want to be considerate of. I've talked before, there are certain floodplain areas they really want to be noting, because if you go in and make an offer on a home not knowing that, and you don't look into the insurance portion, that can drastically affect the affordability. And then, of course, maintaining a home. That's something that's depending on, as we saw there, houses that need a little bit more work have to save some more money so you can put into it, versus a newer build home, there's not much that you have to do there. And the final thing I'll say, utilities. That's generally the case, whether it be a rental or owning. Those are fairly standard across, because things like hydro and gas are more of an Ontario-wide rate. Next, we'll talk about rural living versus city living. So living directly in Belleville, we do have a transit system that works fairly well. It will get you around to the majority of the city fairly quickly. It will even get as far as the college on Walbridge Loyalist Road. But if you see some of these homes that are a little further out of town and they're a little bit more affordable, maybe cheaper property taxes, well, of course, that's going to require that you do have vehicles for work. And so that's an extra cost that you want to factor in. And of course, with that, there's the gas prices. There are some areas around here where you can get cheaper gas, just over towards Tandanaga, and a lot of people utilize that. Also, I've mentioned before that some of the housing can be cheaper if you go towards Trenton, which is about 10 to 15 minutes down the 401. One thing to consider, of course, though, is that adds to your commute if you're going to be working in Belleville direct. So another piece to add to that affordability. So at this point, you have a good idea of what the home prices are, the different costs that you need to consider when you're looking to purchase within Belleville or the surrounding areas. I may have forgotten some, and if you are local and you know some other things that people should be considering, definitely put it down in the comments so anyone watching this can look there and have a better picture of what they need to consider. What you can do to help with all this, a couple ideas, something that is very popular now is house hacking. And there are a few different ways you can do this. Some have a home that is maybe a little bit larger than they need, or they have an extra room. Renting out a room is something that a lot of people are doing, especially with all the students that are coming into this area. And I mentioned the low vacancy rate, so it's usually quite easy to find somebody. That can definitely help pay down that mortgage. Another aspect is taking your home and creating an apartment. So creating a basement suite, something that we're seeing quite a bit more. The Ontario government has been pushing this quite a bit. And watch out, I'm actually going to do a video in the future about this because I'm currently doing that on one of my properties, and it's a fantastic option. You can separate, especially if you find a home that has a side entrance already, you can separate that up and down, and that basement apartment, not only are you adding to the rental inventory to this area, which is much needed, it allows you to get somebody in there that will be paying rent and then will help basically pay down your mortgage and make it so much more affordable to live in the area. That's all we're going to cover today regarding affordability, looking at Belleville in this area. Hopefully I've given you a little bit more information as you continue on your journey, trying to figure out where it is that you want to land. If you do have any more questions, I would be happy to talk to you. My number is down in the description. My email is down there. Feel free to reach out. Once again, my name is Jeremy Tremblay, a realtor, Belleville surrounding areas. And as I said, if you got anything out of this video, hit that like button, hit the subscribe. Until next time.